Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, November 5th at 1:30 p.m. and we are here this afternoon for a work session with Community Justice Alternatives, and this is for their quarterly updates. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner John Kafalis and Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally. We have our Assistant County Manager with us this afternoon, Lori Kadrich. Many people around the table, several people in the room. Welcome, everyone. I will turn things over to Emily Humphrey, our Director of Community Justice Alternatives, and we're looking forward to your presentation today. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks again. Again, for those that are listening in, my name is Emily Humphrey, and I'm the Director of Community Justice Alternatives. Today, we're going to talk about our programs within our service area. But before we do that, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, like I usually do between our work sessions. So, really exciting news. I want to talk about our warrant clearance event. And to be honest, it's our 7th, which is pretty amazing that we've had 7. This will be our 7th warrant clearance event on November 15th. It's going to be across the street at the Justice Center at 201 LaPorte Avenue from 9:30 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And for those that are listening in, this is the opportunity for individuals with lower types of felony warrants and misdemeanor warrants to have the opportunity to come to the Justice Center without fear of arrest to try to resolve their cases. The public defender, the DA's office will be there, the judges will be there. Larimer County is representing the Community Resource Fair, so we're really excited to have the Resource Fair again this year. Normally, I usually have to call people to ask them to be participants, and this year I had to turn people away. So people kept asking to have booths. So it's going to be a really nice resource fair. Individuals do not have to have a warrant to come in and utilize our resources. Some of the resources that we'll have is we will have vaccinations for those that qualify. We'll also have the ability to sign people up for benefits. We'll also have a lot of different programs that talk about housing instability and helping people. Sober living individuals will be there, organizations to help. We'll also have abilities to learn about food assistance. And then we'll also have a clothing drive for both children and adults, so that'll be new this year. We had a little bit modified one last time, but we're really excited to have that. We'll have our living expertise individuals coming with us and showing people around and making sure that they feel comfortable when people walk through the door with that active warrant. The newest thing that we have this year is that we are doing it with other jurisdictions. So in the past, we've only done it with one ourselves, and now we're going to be doing it with Boulder, Jefferson County, and Gilpin counties. So that what that means is they're going to be having their same warrant clearance event as us. If an individual walks into our lobby and they have a warrant out of Boulder and a warrant here in Larimer County, in the past we weren't able to help either one of those warrants because you couldn't let someone walk away with another warrant. So this time, if someone walks into Larimer County and they have a Boulder warrant, we'll be able to connect them with the public defender in Boulder and a DA in Boulder as well as a judge virtually. So we're really excited to have that opportunity. Same thing as if an individual goes to the Boulder warrant clearance event and they have a Larimer County warrant, they'll tune in and talk to our judges as well. So we're excited. If you'd like to stop by, we'd love to have you. Probably the best time to stop is around lunchtime. I think we're going to have more activity by then. Sometimes it's slow to start and very busy at the end. So any questions on that?
Questions?
Okay.
Oh, Commissioner Kafalis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you, Emily. Will there be any special volunteers for this one?
You know, I'm super sad, but the answer is maybe, but probably not, which is because Rosie's mom is in a training in Detroit. So all of those folks from Yarrow Collective that usually come will not be present this time. But we might have a couple kids that I can corral to help with that. So Rosie's upset. I actually talked to her mom, like, can I come get her? So maybe we'll see how that works. Yeah, you betcha. The next thing I just want to briefly talk about, and it just talks about how CJA has connections throughout the community. So Alliance for Suicide Prevention and Imagine Zero had their teen self-care fair on October 12th, and they had about 750 individuals walk through the door to participate in that. Those were parents and teens. Really great opportunity to focus on self-care and teen mental health. The Gun Safety Coalition had a booth, and I'm just going to show that that's my granddaughter there in the picture. She helped me the entire time, which was very exciting. But the reason that I put this slide on was the one in the right, where you see all of the care packages. Those care packages, each teen that went through the program, when they left, they completed a survey and they were given a care package. This care package was kind of an addition to learning about self-care. Within those packages were affirmation magnets that you could put in your locker. There was the ability to journal, and they had a beautiful journal in there with pencils, and we had even things that talked about how do you journal, what kind of questions do you ask yourself. And we actually had community service, folks that were sentenced to community service, make those bags. And so it didn't cost anyone any money, like the Alliance for Suicide Prevention, and 410 kids got to walk away with one of those. So I just put that out there because that was a really good opportunity. We've had a lot of good feedback from the folks sentenced to community service that they felt like they were making an impact in our community. So just wanted to highlight that good department and good efforts on the part of our partners in the community. So why we're really here today is we're here to talk about our programming at Community Justice Alternatives. And for those individuals that are listening in, we are a non-traditional form of incarceration. So our key focus is making sure that victims of crime have a voice and that they're heard, and that the community is safe with the decisions that we make. We also hold individuals accountable. But a big part of our job is making sure that we give the folks that are under our supervision the tools in their toolbox to come out and be successful in our community. And doing that, programming comes in. We have individuals that may be incarcerated for many years, even decades, and coming out can be kind of scary. And having the right resources to set them up for success and not failure is key. And so you're going to hear from some incredible folks here today. You're going to hear from Lindsay Keller, who is on my left. She is our program manager at Community Justice Alternatives. She's the one that makes all of these programs happen. So she's going to be the heavy lift in this presentation. You're also going to hear from CSU, from Professor Toby Jacoby, who is our Community Literacy Center Director, who brings really good programming onto site. You're going to hear about that as well. You're also going to hear from Francine Conway, who's to my right, who works for Key Bank. And sorry, I just saw you there, Toby. I appreciate that. You just snuck in there on me. So Francine Conway is from Key Bank, and she is a financial wellness consultant because financial literacy is really, really important in our program. And then you're going to hear from Todd Gunderman on my left, who's with the Matthews House, and the incredible programs that the Matthews House is volunteering and providing to us on campus. So we're really excited for that. And the most important people in the room are our clients that we supervise. And you're going to be hearing from Jessica Cates and Forrest Mangus about the programs that they have utilized at CJA and the importance it has been in their journey. So I'm going to turn it over to the experts. So I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay.
Thank you. So I've been with Community Justice Alternatives for a little over 19 years, and most of my time has been spent at community corrections and case management, and working with the case managers of helping our clients re-enter back into our community. And so when this job was posted a little over 7 months ago, I was really excited about transitioning so that I could help clients find their connection into our community and get the skills that they need to be able to be successful when they leave. And so when we look at programming, our core values that I know that you guys know about, I like to look at its respect, connection, empowerment, and safety. And so connection and empowerment are the two that we're going to talk about today. A lot of our programming starts in the jail, continues with us, and then when they go out into the community. And then empowerment, giving them the tools, like Emily said, to fill their toolbox so they can be successful when they leave here. And so first we're going to talk about connection. So we have numerous faith-based programming that we bring on site. And so clients can really pick what they feel connected to. And they also have the option to give me feedback of which programming they'd like to bring on site. So we've developed a survey where Jessica's going to talk more about it later, but I can send it out to their kiosk to get feedback on current programming and give them an option to give me ideas for programming to bring on site. And then we also have Room for Hope, which is a faith-based mentor program for our women. They come weekly and they do activities throughout the year for the females. They do a Mother's Day picnic where their children and caregivers can come and celebrate their mothers. And then in the summer, they do a spa day where they get community members to volunteer to do manicures, facials, and haircuts. And then they do a fall coat drive.
And how How long has Room for Hope been with us?
It's been over 15 years. And then we have Blues Behind Bars, which is a nonprofit that goes into correctional facilities and they do songwriting workshops. And so they come on twice a month and put on a little concert for our clients. They don't currently do songwriting right now, but they do perform songs that they have written with our clients in the past. And so those are our faith-based. And we also know having support groups that you can connect to, that you can start while you're here and continue when you leave is so important. And so we have a traditional AA for women that comes weekly. And then Celebrate Recovery comes weekly as well. And we have a male-only and a female-only group for them.
Can you explain a little bit about what Celebrate Recovery is?
So it's recovery for anything, like unhealthy habits, like eating disorders, substance abuse, mental health. They just cover it all. So it's all encompassing. And then, as we know, peer support has had such a great impact on the criminal justice system. And so Yarrow Collective is currently in the jail, and so they can work with clients there. And then when they come to us, continue to work with them, and then when they leave. And so they currently hold drop-in hours where clients can do one-on-one meetings with them. And then we have a male-only and female-only groups that they hold. And this has been a great stepping stone for us because, as you know, one of our long-term goals is to have lived expertise employees. And so this has been great to kind of help us navigate how to do that piece. And then a fan favorite of all staff and clients is the Comfort Dogs. They are just amazing. I walk around with them once a month when they come on. And we were walking into the female facility, and one of the dogs just pulled its handler straight to this girl who was struggling with mental health and just sat down right next to her, and she just started bawling and petting the dog. And then we were in the male facility, and the dog would not leave the client's side, and we couldn't figure out why. And then he eventually said he felt like he was going to have a seizure. And so just seeing the training these dogs have had in progress, like doing it, it's just been so great to see. Do you guys have any questions about the connection programming?
Any questions? Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
I'm very familiar with the Comfort Dogs. Deborah's a favorite of mine, so I'm curious, when the dogs do come in regularly and they kind of maybe identify someone who's having a challenge. I know that the handlers are also especially trained. Do you have a staff member who maybe recognizes that and kind of follows up after maybe something comes up with that kind of visit?
Yeah, so we definitely sit there and process with them. So I kind of have it timed through each facility to give that time to do that process, have those conversations. And then staff is usually always around. So like with the medical one, they followed up with that piece of it so that we make sure that the clients are okay when we leave.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kafalis?
Thank you. Regarding the Bible study, can you say a little bit more about that? I saw that on other paper, I think it's Soul City Church that participates, Jesus and Donuts, that's interesting. But I'm wondering, are there volunteer chaplains or pastors that help facilitate Bible study? And what's the demand for it? I imagine it's really important. But also, what about folks who might be of a different faith tradition, Jewish or perhaps Muslim or that sort of thing? How do you handle all that?
Yes, so I'm going to start with your first part of that.
Thanks.
So it is a lot of chaplains and then volunteers through the churches that come. I will say Blues Behind Bars, they average about 30 clients coming to their concerts. And then Room for Hope is also a very popular one. I think they can average up to 40 clients that come, which is amazing. And so I have the survey where if a client wants to have a different faith-based, I'm happy to look into that piece of it. And also a lot of that is rapport building. I walk around the facilities a lot and talk to the clients, and always, I want their ideas. Like, this is to benefit them, and so the more input I can get from them, the better. And so I I bring people into my office and I ask them how it's going because, and even our volunteers, they want what they're bringing to really benefit our clients too. And so whenever I do surveys and I get constructive feedback, either good or bad, I always give it to them so that we can talk and adjust if needed.
Oh, that's great, and I think this is really important because I think the spiritual component of all of this necessary healing and recovery is critical. And it looks like it's also Vintage Church that's involved, but folks don't necessarily go to the church. People from the church come to the facility?
So we have a little bit of both.
Oh, no kidding.
Which is great. So like Vintage Church does offsite for them as well so that they can get comfortable going there so that when they leave, they continue that piece.
Okay.
And then our clients also get religious passes that they can take. Yeah,
Thank you, Lindsay.
yeah.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
So now I'm going to move into empowerment, to the skills and foundations that we give our clients. And so Emily kind of talked about this earlier, how financial literacy is really important because a lot of our clients are coming to us from prison that have been there 5, 10, 15, even over 20 years. And so even having that foundation of how to use a debit card isn't really there. And so Francine's going to talk later about Key Bank. So I'll talk about South State Bank. They come on twice a month and do a co-ed group, and they rotate through these 3 topics of money management, financial products and services, and then understanding credit. And this just helps kind of give that foundation and budgeting so that they can progress throughout our program.
And in community corrections, don't they have to take a financial planning class prior to working through the phases? Is that correct?
So yes, I know at the beginning we had it mandatory that they would do that piece of it. And I will say a lot of their case managers put it in their case plan to attend that class to help them learn how to budget their money. And then building relationships is really important for our client success. And so these 3 groups really focus on that piece of it. So Turning Point is a community agency that helps family, adults, and youth with behavioral issues, mental health, and substance abuse. And this group is really all about reentry and getting you connected with your family. And so it's weekly for the women. And so they just meet, and it's kind of an open forum where they can talk about struggles that they're having, and then they'll help them get some skills around that issues like healthy boundaries, things like that. And then we have Northern Colorado Health Alliance that does a women's T group, and T stands for Trust, Empowerment, and, oh boy, Appreciate. And so what they do is empower women to set healthy boundaries for themselves in their relationships. And then we have Decent Relationships, which is a retired volunteer who is a therapist, who she has been trained in the Decent Relationships curriculum, and she teaches it for men. And it is all about healthy communication. And then we have Homeward Alliance. They come once a month to repair bikes for our clients. And we know that's really important because for a lot of them, that's their main mode of transportation, to work, appointments, treatment, things like that. But they also teach them bike maintenance, which I think is really important for them. And then in September, we got DMV to go for the first time. We served 33 clients to get their IDs and driver's license. And it's just that stepping stone to help build stability factors for them to continue to move through the program to get their ID so they can get employment.
Commissioner.
So a couple questions. First question, Emily, are they still doing this at the warrants clearance event? Because I know I saw one maybe last year. Is that still possible?
So unfortunately, out of the 6 times we've done the warrant clearance event, DMV to go has only been able to go the first 2. And we have tried very, very hard to get them to come because that was probably the most popular site to come to, or the table. With their shortage in staffing, they were not able to come on a Saturday. So this has been a really good connection.
So that's great. So my second question is, because having ideas to apply for things or do things is extremely important. If someone has tickets or other things that are still out there on their, maybe they're not a long-term client, if someone has points taken off or something, and they can't get their license, or how do you support some of those folks who might have things on their IDs? Can they still get an ID, or if they can't get driver's license because they're restricted from driving, can they still get some kind of ID
Yes,
Is
they
that,
can get
is that question, I'm trying to think about those, so I hope I was clear there.
Yes, and I hope I answer it correctly.
Okay.
So yes, they can always get their ID. And the thing
Okay.
that's really neat about Elizabeth that we are connected with, I do a Google Doc and I share it with her. So if clients don't know if they can get their driver's license, she can look that up before they come.
Okay.
So that we can really utilize her time. And I timed her the last time. She can get through one client in 4 minutes. It was really amazing. And so a lot of our clients maybe don't even have the documentation that they need, so we have to do an affidavit for them. And so I've been cleared to do all of that, and then she'll let me know which ones, so that when they come, we can get that done.
Amazing. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. And so another thing we do with our clients is always talk about healthy balance. And so bringing on some pro-social programming to help clients find healthy hobbies was important. And so we have floral arrangement where we have a community volunteer who comes in once a month and gets supplies donated from community businesses, where she helps men and women make bouquets, and then they can take them with them. And then Room for Hope comes on twice a month to do crochet workshop with the women. And then we have Evie, the mobile library, that comes so clients can get library cards, get new books, and return books.
Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
I saw the crochet, and I also know knitting is really a really stress-reducing activity. And I know there's even some college students or some high school students or even some older adults that they knit for maybe newborn babies in the NICU or for older adults or for other things. When they knit and crochet, are they able to do it for themselves or for gifts for family, or do they get to maybe do it for a cause? I'm just curious about some of that.
I think right now what they do is they're knitting stuff for Christmas presents.
Okay.
Kind of doing that. But I'm happy to look into how to donate those to the hospital for like newborn babies and things like that.
Seems, I mean, my daughter and all her friends are knitting and crocheting now. It's kind of like, I kind of
thing.
did that, but it's kind of like skipped a generation. I was kind of doing it with my mother and my grandmother, but now my daughter and her friends, it's like a thing. So I just,
Yeah.
but they try to find somewhere to go, they just sit there and do it in between classes and then they go donate to something. So I'm just curious because I thought maybe it's a thing
Yeah.
everywhere. Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so another pro-social program we bring on is Speak Out. And so we have Professor Toby Jacoby here to speak out about that program.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. Really excited to tell you some about our program. And we can go to the next slide. So the Speak Out program has been involved with justice and system impacted writers here in Northern Colorado since 2005. Our very first one was in community corrections, working with some women. And we have offered writing workshops weekly to hundreds of people in the past 20 years. And so our center is located in the English department. We're the Community Literacy Center. And our goal is to really think about how literacy, and particularly writing, can offer an alternative way of understanding yourself, understanding your life, future life choices, past life choices, the community around you, your family, as well as your kind of place in the world. And oftentimes, folks who find themselves in a moment of crisis, which is how we often think about involvement with the justice system, it's not the moment you want to be focused on at every second of the day. It's also not all of who you are. And so our program comes to offer writing as a tool for thinking about how you can imagine and remember other parts of your life, as well as what a future might look like. For some people who find themselves in our workshops, writing has not been a positive experience. And so sometimes one makes their way through the conventional school system and they think about writing associated with red pens and kind of being chastised by teachers. We really want to counter that story for people. Other times we have writers who come to us with notebooks filled that they have kept for their entire lives. And so we think of ourselves as an extracurricular kind of writing program. So we don't give grades. We're not in it to forward a particular kind of English or to help people feel like their writing is or isn't what's needed at that moment. So as you can see, we have been publishing and working with the Speak Out program across quite a few different areas here in town. Today we're focused on community corrections, but we were with the jail all the way up until March of 2020. And at the height of our programming, we were offering 7 different workshops every week. They tend to happen at night for about 60 to 90 minutes. They're populated by about 15 community writers at max, anywhere from 5 to 15 community writers, and that's how we enter the room, all as writers. And so there would also be 3 to 4 volunteers or interns from the English department or other departments on campus who train with us. And so we ask our volunteers to go through a training where we help them understand what it means to write in community. And if we can stay right here for a second, it's really important to me when I talk about our program that you get to hear from some of the people who've experienced it. So there's 2 quotes up here. I'm going to read both of them out. One is from a writer from the jail. Another is from a writer from work release. We've also worked with parole at times. Currently, we have a group of for the first time in many years, a mixed gender group at Community Corrections. And I believe we're having a women's group start up in just because the women said we also want our gender only group back up. And so we'll have a women's group starting up in the next couple of weeks. So here are a couple of voices. One writer says, "We all have a story and everyone's scars are different. We sometimes don't have anyone to listen to our stories or writing, so it's nice to be heard and have programs like this for people who are incarcerated." Another writer says, "I love those moments when the room is completely silent, aside from the scratch of lead or ink on paper. Silence enough to think clearly in here is uncommonly precious." And the way that I have come to really understand what happens when someone joins and participates in one of our workshops, I think of it as concentric circles. And so the writer is at the center of that circle. So there's something that might happen for them in the moment. They might be exploring a topic or a type of writing that is new to them, or it might be something really familiar, a memory that's really familiar. But there's something different between writing by yourself in your room or outside from writing in a group of people. And so that's the second circle. And so the kind of community that forms really matters. And so I often bring, these are our Speak Out journals. I brought a few samples for you to look at. This is the most current one. This is a retrospective one that takes some samples from a variety of different places. And I'm glad you see you have some as well. I have more if you'd like to look at more. And it's a thing that you're holding in your hands, but that doesn't represent what happens in the room. What happens in the room is much harder to hold onto, and it's about being able to see one another in ways that perhaps you haven't in the past, and to recognize commonalities in experience, to sometimes feel like you're not quite as alone as you thought in a life experience that you may have had, and also to laugh and to celebrate playful language or experimentation or the joy that comes from writing about someone you love or something that you love.
And I would
so-
just say really quickly, one of the books is earmarked with different tabs.
Yeah.
Those are individuals that came from Community Justice Alternatives that have written in that particular book. There's some without all of there, but that one has those ones earmarked if you're interested.
Perfect. Yeah, and so the last circle is also really important, and I always say that I don't know if, it's very important to do the workshops. It's important for the individuals, it's important for the groups, but there's also something really powerful about publishing that work. And it's powerful for the writer, but it's also important for the rest of us who may not have shared the kinds of life experiences that the writers sometimes choose to write about and sometimes would like to separate themselves from. And so the Speak Out Journal has been published for many years, and you can see, if we go back one, this is just a sampling. We've published 36 different journals, like the one that you have in front of you, over the years, and they have traveled all over the world. And so every time we publish currently in May, and we'll print 500 copies. That's thanks to a relationship we have with a publisher named Top Hat Publisher. They donate the 500 copies to us, so we don't charge for these. The writers are able to take copies, and we take them into the world. We share them with other similar programs. We carry them to little libraries. We put them at our public libraries and cafes. Whenever we travel, and the we is inclusive. It's anyone who would like to take a stack. And so they have, we had an intern who was an exchange student from China a few years ago. She took a stack back and she started a similar program. And so that's another reach of this kind of program that maybe lands a little bit more on the university side than the client side. But we've also had clients come to us and ask for copies of the journals so that they can take them into meetings that they're having that have impact on their case, because they would like to help people understand what it means to them to write in this way. I'll end by sharing two things that we have been doing lately. This was a retrospective across the past 20 years that was up at the Old Town Library, and it was for 2 months in December of 24 and January of 25. We made big posters of some of the writing. Some was bilingual, English, Spanish. It represented a really wide range of topics, and that's another way that we try to help our community understand the power of this kind of writing. We'll have a follow-up kind of exhibit that will be at the Global Village Museum in February of this year, using some of those texts and some new texts as well. And then I noticed that, like, we have the tabs, and I see that you're reading some, but I also wanted to share two pieces that were collaborative first from the men at Community Corrections, and then I'll share one from the women. And so this is from the journal that was published in May 24, called The Soul Speaks. The artwork is always original to one of the groups or one of the writers. So the one that you have in front of you, that's sort of this coral color, that represents an activity that we did, and then some, we'll call it micro art on little sticky notes that people did, and then a more fully developed piece is on the back. And there are some, you can see, really amazing artists. So this is not clip art, this is original artwork from our community. And so this one was called it's a cyanotype, and it's where you take drawings out and you put them in the sun, and it creates these patterns. So that's what's on the back of this one. So I'm going to share a piece called Starting Over that was written collaboratively by some of the men at Community Corrections. I would begin with all I ever needed. I would buy, not rent. I would find more days to sit in the forest as I converse with the trees and escape reality. I would not be so afraid of my shadow. She's good company. I would pre-package sorries and I love yous in gold-lined envelopes. I would offer the world more positivity and love. I would give myself understanding and rebuke for self-hatred. I would loosen my grasp on those depraved and love-starved wrists which pull me down with them. I would apprentice myself through my old self with an insatiable thirst for notoriety and success. I would end this now, preventing ever having to start over. I will. So that's Starting Over by a group of men at Community Corrections. And then the second one is called Hope is Aspiration to Grow. As cold creeps in, I wonder if my heart will ever thaw from my icy past. But thawing is painful. When you're frozen, you feel nothing. When you warm up again, there's burning, but it signals life. Part of me prefers to remain icy. I know how cold impacts me, and I'm comfortable in it. As I thaw, I realize hope is aspiration to grow. And so those are representative, I think, of some of the many writings we've seen over the years. They're not all pitched that way. Sometimes they just want to have fun, and I think we should embrace that as well. And so the very last slide is a newer project. Just in the last few years, we have been thinking about how we can invite some of the writers in the workshops to take a leadership role and help us launch these movable story walls. So you can see this is a picture of Braden, one of our leaders from the university, who was working with a group of men at Community Corrections. They thought of a conversation they'd like to have with the community, an asynchronous conversation. And so they put up some prompts. Those are the orange pieces of paper. And then he had just set it up, so there's not a lot of writing up there yet. And then the blue pieces of paper are invitations, and green you can sort of see invitations for community members to answer those prompts and be a part of the conversation. So that's work that we're currently doing. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Professor Jacoby. Questions, Commissioner Kafalis?
Thank you. I'm wondering, do you encourage the different kinds of writing styles? I mean, this book seems to be a lot of wonderful poetry, but I'm wondering, obviously there are prose, but short story writing, or perhaps the value of journaling.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're seeing in front of you in the journals is really just what people chose to submit. There's no requirement that they do that. So I would say that most often when people are journaling, that's work that they wouldn't necessarily want to submit for publication and circulation. People do sometimes work on very long stories. We have people who are interested in novel writing. And so sometimes there's space to print an excerpt. And we also encourage them to really embrace the mantle of writing and think about other places that they can send things. So sometimes longer pieces are more appropriate to send to other kinds of publications. But we do try to introduce, first we try to talk with the groups about the type of writing they might be interested in. And then we try to bring in examples for them and encourage, a wide range of things.
May I do a follow-up? Thank you, Professor Jacoby. Are there opportunities to invite people from the community who are writers or poets to engage with folks?
In the weekly the workshops that we offer at Community Corrections, those are closed, so it's just for that community. But we do have other workshops that are running. So, for example, we have a Thursday it's mid-morning workshop that's been running for about a year now. And so when folks might rejoin the community, they'd be invited to come to that group. And then there are times when, for example, we try to have a publication party at the end to celebrate all their hard work when the journal comes out. And so sometimes, depending on limitations that our partners might have, we can invite outside folks to come in.
Where I'm coming from, it seems like we have quite a wealth of, a wealth of local authors and those kinds of folks, and I bet there would be some good sharing and exchange that way. One last question, please. Looking at the proverbial clock there, and that is, I'm curious, can you say a little bit more about the Center for Community Literacy? I'm afraid I've never heard of it.
That's okay. That's okay. We are in the English department, so we're
My son was an English major.
excellent. Well, maybe I encountered him. So we're in the English department, and we're an outreach arm of the English department. And so we've done a lot of things over the years with the community. For example, the story wall that you see the example of, we've worked with the public library, we've worked with BOCC. I think we had 4 walls that moved last year for BOCC, up at the Lyric, the Museum of Discovery. We have a whole slate of things that will happen in the spring. And so our work tends to be with places that are adjacent to existing programming and adjacent to conventional schooling. So we're really interested in trying to give writing opportunities to folks who might not have it. So we've also worked with the unhoused community quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I asked
you.
enough questions, I guess.
Thank you. Commissioner Shanika McNally.
Thank you. I'm finding this really intriguing and really uplifting. My question, and then I have a comment here. Maybe you mentioned this, and I wasn't, because I was really fascinated with some of these powerful words in here. With some folks in this program, are they ever able to have their families or may their loved ones come listen or read some of these and participate with any kind of programming, as so the families can also maybe be impacted as well? I'm curious about that.
Well, I'm sorry to say that sometimes we have generational strands that run through these journals. So we have published mothers and aunts and siblings and children because they've been involved in the system. I know that's not what you're asking, but it's something that I've definitely seen. And so people are welcome to give copies. There are invitations in most of the journals for readers to take a more active role and try some of this out. It's been a number of years, but we just sometimes do writing exchanges where we'll encourage one workshop to write two. So we're working with Turning Point when they had residential programming, and so the girls at Turning Point were writing to the women at community corrections and at the jail and back and forth. So there's some of that can happen. But it's been my understanding that in the past, we haven't been able to invite family members to come into the sessions themselves. But that's something we should think about maybe.
I will say I went to the last one, and it was super moving to see the clients read and then all the other clients celebrate their writing. And so we haven't had anybody ask to have their family, but I think that's something we could look into. We do allow clients who have exited to come back for that celebration piece of it.
That's great. Well, just curious, because, sometimes it can hit someone's in the heart. And I just I appreciate you tabbing these, and I'll pass this on to my colleagues. I really found that awesome. But I went back to the last page, and it was the word clouds from all the groups. It says each group created a list of 10 words that represented their experience writing together. Mm-hmm. And I just really remarked touched by the biggest word is resilience, and then friends, and then progression. And I don't know, that just kind of really touched me. So I just wanted to share that. I appreciate you. This is really cool to see this today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this program. Really great work. I probably asked more questions, but I know we have some to get through, and we definitely want to talk to the clients that are here.
Yeah,
too,
we've got a lot of great presenters, so thank you
Wonderful.
so much for coming.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
So now we have Francine from Key Bank, who's going to talk about the budgeting class she does.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm Fran, I go by Fran, from Key Bank. And my title is a financial wellness consultant. And one of the opportunities Key Bank allows me is to get out into the community and teach financial wellness. Back in the day when I was in school, we had financial classes. We don't have those anymore. And as Lindsay was saying, if you've been incarcerated for a certain amount of time, things change. The financial world is always changing. And so one thing that I bring to the clients is a budgeting class. I come out twice a month, once for the men and once for the ladies. And we talk about basic budgeting, and the goal is to prepare them for once they're able to leave corrections, that they're empowered with their finance. They know where they're at, they know how to balance their budgets. The workshop that we have, the goals are to, first of all, explore the importance of creating and maintaining a budget. A lot of the struggle, it's very easy to sit and write down what your budget should be, but then you have to stick with it. And so we talk about different ways of doing that. Also examining the difference between wants and needs. In our 50-30-20 packet that we use, it breaks that down for us. And we'll go over the 50-30-20 here in a moment. But the wants and needs, a lot of people think they need Starbucks every day on their way to work. And I try to bring this into, like, just make you think about it a little bit. Think about it. If you go to Starbucks every single day on your way to work, 5 days a week, and your average purchase is going to be $10, including your tip, right? So that's $50 a week, $200 a month, $2,400 a year. And when you can break things down like that for people, it kind of just, it opens their mind to other things that maybe they're spending money on, yet they're having a hard time, purchasing groceries or paying their utilities or whatever it may be. So when we look at the difference between wants and needs, that's what we're looking at. You can want coffee or need coffee, but you don't need to go to Starbucks. So other things, do you want to go back a couple? Other things that we look at are setting goals for their spending and savings. And the goals are, I try to encourage them during the class to be very realistic with themselves. That, this is how much they make on a net income. We talk about the difference between gross and net income so they understand what they're working with. But to be able to put those things down on paper for themselves, I think visually is a very powerful tool. You want to go to the next one? So part of what we talk about during our classes, we have a fictional character that we use, and she, is struggling, working 2 jobs, trying to make her rent and things like that. So part of what we do in the class is just break that down a little bit for them. But it's about empowering the clients so that they feel like they have a financial footing once they leave corrections. So with Key Bank, they recognize, communities as a whole have different challenges, I guess, with financial wellness. And so we actually have a whole bunch of different classes that we're able to provide, just depending on what the needs are. So some things that I personally have done, I know Larimer County has had like a job fair for high schoolers. We actually attended that and basically taught banking 101 to the high school kids, just because they're not getting that education in school. So this is how you balance your checkbook. It's not just going online to see if the charge is there or how much money you have left to spend. But I've also even gone into seniors' homes, talked to them about senior fraud prevention and things like that. So we're definitely out in the community. It's my position at Key Bank is very gratifying to me because I am able to go out and teach these classes and hopefully empower people. Do you want to go to the next one? So the Create Your 50-30-20 budget, this is a tool that I use in almost all of my classes, because whether I'm teaching about building credit or budgeting, it doesn't really matter. It all kind of fits in together. And so one thing I really like to focus on with the 50-30-20, it looks great on paper, but fact of the matter is most people are not anywhere close to being able to have a 50-30-20 budget, if we're quite real. So you all have, I think, a copy of that packet. So the way this packet works is at the bottom on the front page, the bottom right, I have the clients put in their net monthly income. Okay? And on the second page, that is their needs. So those are things they have to pay for. Those are going to be things like their rent and their utilities and their auto insurance, those types of things that they have to pay. So ideally on a 50-30-20 budget, that would be 50% of their income. But then we want them to look even farther forward into their wants, and the wants are going to be short-term wants. Those are going to be things like they want to take a vacation. On the last page, those are going to be long-term, so we really want them to look outward, not just for today and not just for tomorrow, but we want them to look towards their future. And so on the very last page, the 20% is more long-term goals, things such as buying a home, having a retirement, those types of things. And so I encourage them, I tell them, be very honest with yourself when you're filling this out. Understand that you're probably not at 50-30-20, most people are not, but it's a great goal in itself to get to. And so it's just, like I said, to be able to write that down and be able to actually look at it. I actually have my 50-30-20, I work on it every single month. And I put it on my refrigerator. And I look at it every single day. So before I go and I buy that want, I make sure that in fact that's really what I want. So part of what I like to teach as well is that part of budgeting, you have to look at your credit. And credit can be huge or have a huge impact on your budget because now you can get the apartment that you want at the price that you need. Your auto insurance is affected by credit. There's all these different things that you don't even realize if you have a credit card, the interest rate that you're paying, or a personal loan or a student loan, the interest rates that you're paying can be impacted by your credit. So we even take it into a little, the next step. Yeah, it's great to have a budget, but also let's look at where your credit is right now. Do we need to start rebuilding now, while you're in corrections for another few months so we can really start working on that so when you actually get out, you can get that apartment. So those are things that I really like to look at with the programs that we offer. Do you have any questions?
I believe we have time.
Are we good on time?
We're on page 28, and I think we have page 34.
Well, I know, but with the clients, we'd like to.
Well, that's why I asked the question, so I
Okay.
can hold off,
Okay.
because I do want to engage
Or a
with
brief question or
folks.
two would be fine, probably.
What's
Go
that?
ahead. A brief question would be fine.
Oh, a brief question. So, on the matter of the proportions, is there a methodology behind that? Did you come up with that? I realize I'm compacting multiple questions. And also, on the matter of retirement security, I mean, that's often a tricky one, especially if you don't make a lot of money and you don't have a lot of disposable income. How do you handle those kinds of things? And this is really interesting. I think it's great. But how do you do it?
So the 50-30-20 budget is actually something that many financial institutions use. We did not come up with that ourselves, no. As a matter of fact, I just heard them talking about that on the news the other day. But so yeah, it is something that is used through the banking industry. And it's a goal. If you can be at 50-30-20, that's fantastic. Like I said, not a lot of people, especially in today's economy, can reach that. But it's definitely something worth goaling yourself for. As far as planning towards retirement, things like that. So, ultimately, the goal, I believe, of the majority of the clients that I've met, quite frankly, they have made some bad decisions, they want to move forward with their lives, and they have their futures in mind. And so the types of positions that they're applying for and things like that may just be a stepping stone into their future. So if they're able to even just open a savings account and not touch it, once again, it comes to discipline, but if they're able to just put away a little bit at a time and save towards that retirement, it may not be enough to necessarily invest right away into a 401k, but it's more of a stepping stone into the future.
Thank you. I'll leave it at that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Francis.
Commissioner? No?
Brian.
Okay. Well, thank you, Fran. That's
Thank
great.
you.
I think you've given us all just something to think about.
I never knew about
And now I'm going to hand it over to Todd for the parenting class through Matthew's house.
Right on. Good afternoon, everybody. Really profoundly grateful to be here to talk about what we do at, I call it the Dad Cafe. Strong Dad's Cafe is what we talk about. And obviously, it's, from my experience, it's just from the work release program. And of course, we do it on the women's side, and we also have community cafes out in the community as well. But you can go to the next one. Yeah, just real quickly, they asked me to put a little introduction together. Sometimes I go a little crazy with it. But quick little story, because I definitely want to hear from Jessica and Forrest as well. Forrest is one of my friends from Parent Cafe, so it's so cool to see him here today as well. But I just kind of walked into this. I just had some spare time and said, maybe I want to do some volunteering. And so someone said, oh, you ever hear about the Matthews House? I don't know much about them, but, why don't you go talk to them? And before you know it, I'm signed up to be a mentee. I'm signed up to help out at the Parent Cafe, which turned into like facilitating right away. And I can tell you that it has been so friggin' inspiring. And kind of like my little introduction said here, I've been in the construction industry for 30-something years, and I've been always struggling to try to do something more for my life, be more of purpose, and I found it there. And I'm in therapy myself, and I started talking to my therapist about it, and she said, you know what? Get out of the industry and start to become a marriage family therapist. And so that's where I'm at. I'm like a little over a year in, and I can thank the Matthews House for that opportunity to kind of redirect where I'm going in my life, which is pretty cool. What do we do at Parent Cafe? I'll talk a little bit about it. I could talk a lot about it. The first thing we have up here is kind of we create a safe and supportive space so people can get vulnerable. And I think it's really important for, I can say, being as a man. It's very difficult to be vulnerable. We're not taught to be vulnerable. We're taught to be, that's a weakness. And that's probably one of my biggest takeaways of what we do there at Parent Cafe is we provide a safe space where dads can talk about their struggles of being a dad and not knowing how to be a dad, and just creating that safe, supportive place is really, really important. Something that I've added in along the way is kind of taking a step back too, of learning, well, how did we get here, right? How come we're not good dads? How come we don't have any parenting skills? And much like Fran was saying, like where financial skills aren't taught in school anymore, parenting skills certainly aren't. So the only way we get to know how to be a parent is what we learn from our parents. And a lot of us, me included, and I would say a high percentage of the men that I work with on the work release in ComCore, they come from families that are dadless. They come from violent families. They come from broken families, the foster care system, where it's failed them. And so that's where they're coming from. You know, just that's their baseline of what it is to be a parent. And the reason I do that, I do it for a couple reasons. One, it's because that's what I've done in my own healing, but also because it really helped me, and I think it helps the men too. Just like it quiets the shame and the guilt for not knowing how to be a dad, right? You didn't have the skills. No one taught you how to be it. Matter of fact, you got the complete opposite of what people get. You learn how not to be. And I think it kind of slows down the shame enough where you can start to be a little bit vulnerable and say, okay, yeah, I don't know how to be a dad. And yeah, no kidding. So we talk about that a lot. And the other thing, I did say the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll tell you, there's some beautiful people that'll come in there and they'll talk about their dads and their grandparents. And that's also a beautiful thing too, because we get to hear directly from these people that had those good experiences. And that's a teaching lesson in itself as well. So that's a reason why we kind of step back. And there's that word resilience. And I've got a great quote that I'll add here in a minute. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just building resilience for these men. They've been through some crazy adversity, but yet here they are walking into a parenting cafe class because they want to be a good dad, and they want to learn how to do it. And to me, that's just, it's a beautiful thing to watch. And then ultimately, we're hopefully providing some healthy parenting tools. Like I said earlier, not every family, not every dad that I come across, but a good majority of them, they come from, generational trauma. And these parenting tools, even just that step of them coming into one class is one step of breaking that cycle and becoming the dad that they never had. And we focus on that quite a bit. Talk about the 5 protective factors. They're kind of like our guiding posts for our topics and our discussions. And so we have 5 of them. The first one is parental resilience. And I just wanted to repeat this quote. Actually, I just learned in school just a couple months ago, and it was so impactful that the very next parent cafe, I wrote it on the board, and the topic that night was resilience. But this is from a lady that developed the resilience theory. She's a psychologist. So it says, resilience is the capacity to rebound from adversity, strengthened and more resourceful. The qualities of resilience enable people to heal from painful wounds, take charge of their lives, go on to live fully, and love well. I think that perfectly describes really everything that we're talking about today. And it's certainly a big part of what we do at Parent Cafe as well. We give them resources, we give them tools, and hopefully that they're, and they're starting to heal some of those painful wounds, so they can be good dads. And it's just, for me personally, just to sit back and watch these men grow as they come to class after class, and finally feel that anxiety from some of them, like they're getting out and, oh man, I'm going to have to actually put these parenting tools to work, and just feeling their anxiety and holding their hand through that and walking them through. Another protective factor is social connections. We've talked a little bit about this today in different ways, and I think someone mentioned earlier, some of these individuals have been incarcerated for a long, long time, and so they don't necessarily have relational skills, interpersonal skills, and knowing how to connect. And so that's another guiding factor in our topics and questions that we put together. And then knowledge of parenting and child development. I like that it says parenting and child development. I'm actually in a human development class right now. And learning, even though I'm in like the laterhood of adulthood, I'm still acting as an adolescent, which is kind of interesting. So, bringing the knowledge of that, right? Like, so you can meet your kid where your kid is at. Because you can't connect with your kid that's 5 years old compared to someone that's 15. It's totally different, and you have to understand those different development stages. But also parent on the adult side too, of understanding where you are developmentally and understanding what kind of work that you need to do as well. And then concrete support in times of need. Again, I think it's, and I'm mostly speaking for myself, but I think in our society, men are taught to never ask for help, never ask for support, that it's a sign of weakness. And I think Parent Cafe is a place that we can deny that stigma that's out there. And we work on that, and we tell them how to get resources and learn about self-care and emotional regulation and start building those support systems within. And then also, the other part of it too is knowing how to support your kids in tough times. That's not an easy thing, right? Especially, I don't know if there's anyone that has teenagers here. You know how difficult that is. I've got 3 of them myself. Well, no, they're no longer teenagers, but those were some difficult years, and I didn't have any skills, and so it's Parent Cafe gives us the opportunity to try to talk amongst ourselves too, and it's not a lecture of me going up there and lecturing. It's more of just hearing from everybody else their struggles and their experiences, and it's a powerful thing. And lastly, social and emotional competence of children. We put this in one term. It's called communication. And what I'll say here is this is a big topic, of course, but one of the biggest things that we talk about with this particular factor is how to create a safe place for your kids to feel safe and comfortable to come to talk to you. That's one thing I never had. And a lot of the men that come into Parent Cafe, they want to learn that. They want to learn how to create a safe place because, a lot of them are estranged from their kids, and they need to learn how to create a safe place so they can start to feel comfortable trusting their dad to share feelings and share emotions and learning to be able to become emotionally attuned with them. And so that's kind of the work that we do with that particular factor. And then lastly, kind of like how it works. I always say they don't necessarily come to listen to me or come to learn about Parent Cafe, but we have this amazing volunteer retired lady that makes these home cooked meals for these guys. And it's how I say it, it's how we lure them in. So I make sure it's the very first thing I do when I get there, and I prepare. I put them all up against the window so everyone can see it, and I open up the tin foils so they can start to smell it, and that's how we kind of lure them in. Right, Forrest? Yeah, and she's just such a beautiful person. And I also think it sends a good message to these gentlemen too. I mean, it's nice to get a nice, warm cooked meal for sure. But time and time again, like we have this thing we call commitment cards, and usually they take that time to write thank you notes. Her name is Sue. And I think it's just, it's one moment that maybe they can feel a little bit worthy, that they are worthy of this beautiful dinner that someone just made with love, and I love that part of it. Next, usually how we do, I pick a topic like resilience. One of my favorite ones is we do the power of gratitude, where I kind of start off with a meditation. It's a really, really powerful one. I love doing that one. Usually it just comes to like whatever comes to mind. So we pick a topic. I usually throw up a quote and then kind of talk about it for a little bit, and then we kind of have like a quick like open sharing about what resilience might mean for them. And then we do it, what I think is the most powerful part of our program is they pair up. And so I come up with some open-ended questions that are very directed towards that topic for the day. or that session, and then they pair up. And I call it picking a pal. And I use acronyms a lot. And PAL stands for Practice Active Listening. Because I think if you have any kind of parenting tool, I'm hopeful that all of them take that away. Because if you can learn how to active listen to your kids, you can get to them in so many ways. And so, but it's really powerful because they pair up, and a lot of these questions, I challenge them to go really, really deep. Usually one is talking about the past and their experiences, with their parents, which is always pretty impactful. A lot of tears are shed sometimes. A lot of hugs, which is a beautiful thing to watch. Two men doing that, and then they go back and forth. One takes a turn answering the questions while the other one listens, and they kind of go vice versa. And then we stop, and then we kind of just have like a big open sharing group discussion, which I tell you, like my kids are 25, 22, and 19, and every single session I walk away with learning something new. And it's just so powerful to have everybody together kind of share their experiences like that. And then we kind of dive back in more of a group. We have these really cool parent cafe cards, and they're questions based on each protective factor that I brought up, and we all choose as a group what question we want to choose, and we kind of go around the room, and again, just sharing experiences and hope. And then one more open sharing about that, and then that's pretty much it. And I just wanted to end with what it says there on the bottom, and that's fellowship produces hope and strength. I'm a fellow 12-stepper, and fellowship is what's really healed me and got me on the recovery path. And we talk about 12-step stuff in there sometimes, but to me, the power of fellowship, the power of having a room full of men that are going through some horrific events, but yet they're taking the time, they're taking an hour and a half to come and want to be a better dad and really working really hard. It's a beautiful thing to see. And HOPE for me is another acronym. I call it hearing other people's experiences. Because again, it's not so much about what I say and questions I put up there or the questions that come out of the parent cafe, but I think it's so impactful for other men to hear that they're not alone in these struggles and they have each other to talk through. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you, Tom.
I so want to go. Can we come?
Now I'm going to hand it over to Forrest and Jessica.
Okay, thank you all for holding this space. There's so much in this conversation. So I'm going to talk about a few programs that have impacted me and my experience with that. First, I just want to name the importance of the opportunity and access to these programs. In our program at Community Corrections, Level 1 is kind of designed to establish stability factors, safety, really monitor us carefully in the community. And a couple of things that come up is you have a program schedule on your kiosk. So you can shop around for all these different workshops and programs. And I think that for me, that kind of set the foundation for the rest of my transition. So Level 1 for me was all about getting involved in the programs and the community opportunities. So a couple of things was KeyBank. I met Fran at one of the financial wellness workshops, and immediately I knew that I had some goals. I served almost 12 years in the Department of Corrections for a violent crime. The world did not wait for me. There's a lot of new stuff out here, right? My phone pays for everything, which is crazy. And I don't even look at Starbucks, Fran. I know I don't need it, and for the price, I really don't want it. So I was able to learn about basic budgeting, some of the new things that are out there. I didn't have a FICO score because I had no utilization for 12 years, right? So I had to do a hard rebuild on my credit. There's a couple of tools that were offered right away. We can get you set up with a checking and savings account. We can get you a secure credit card, right? If you're working, we have this direct deposit program that's really going to benefit you. And so I took her up on those tools, those opportunities. And that has really just given me the confidence financially to be where I want to be today. And I'm almost halfway through level 3 in the program, and I only have to get through 4. So where I'm sitting out right now is a really good place for me, and part of that's because of Fran and KeyBank. A couple of the other things that I was able to walk through was Parenting Cafe. Awesome. I've been a prison dad for 12 years, and parenting from incarceration is very different than doing it out here in the community, right? These kids have a lot of demands. They want their dad, and they want it all now. So to be able to go to a space like Parenting Cafe and air that out with a bunch of other guys who are in the same situation was so supportive and so helpful for me. I found a lot of healing there. And I only went a couple of times. Like, I really got through all my dosage hours in the program very quickly because I engaged in all these opportunities. But I think within 5, 6, maybe 7 sessions of Sue's amazing food and Todd's experience in that space, I was able to reconcile a bunch of things within myself and my family and my role as a dad to my 3 sons, who are 15, 13, and 12, by the way. So and that's, you know what that is if you have teenagers. They're great. One of the other things was healthy relationships. Just an incredible human being, a lady named Nan, comes in to run that workshop with us, and it's very intensive. We look at our attachment styles and kind of how we process relationships and how we communicate in relationships. And the challenge is to look at us, not the other side of the relationship. How are we communicating? How are we processing things? And for me, that's incredible. I've been married for 17 years to the same lady. We have kids together. And taking a look at how my part in that relationship works and taking ownership of the things that I can do differently in communicating and holding that relationship was just powerful. And it was only 6 weeks, but I got a lot done in that space. And so I think the power of having these programs available to us just needs to be named over and over again. And the fact that Lindsay is available to us, that we can actually interact with the people who make programming decisions in the program is just huge. I have a voice there, and that feels really good. And to know that in any of these spaces that I choose to engage, I can give and receive gratitude and really accomplish something. And it's not just a lecture. I could Google 50, 30, 20, right? But I have an actual human being who cares about my financial wellness. I have a relationship with a man who does this, right? These are very important things. These aren't just pamphlets and move at your own pace workshops or skill building. These are relationships, which to me is one of the most important things that I've encountered in this program.
Thank you. That was great.
Hi, my name's Jessica Cates, and I want to start off with that the opposite of addiction is connection. This is not my first time through the program. So this time around, I decided that I wanted to connect. And all these programs that they offer now than before is amazing. And I can read you some of the comments made from the surveys. One person said, very fun and interactive. Another said, I take away something from the sermon every time I attend, and I appreciate it. Another, thanks for everything. This program saved my life. It is challenging the creative part of my brain. It's challenging the creative part of my brain and makes me think on a different level. It's also a fun and great way to end the day. Someone also said, this class was instrumental to my program as it provided me with a safe place to be vulnerable and open to the changes I was going through and how those changes related to my past. It was educational, therapeutic, and uplifting. All of this was possible through the instruction of the facilitator. I love this class, very motivational and informative, with the coolest girls leading this group as well. And these ladies were able to teach me things I did not understand before. I truly enjoyed that. And coming from a client, also a client perspective, these programs have been amazing for me. And ever since I got out of prison, I've dived in head on into all of these programs. I've attended almost all of them maybe there might be one or two that I haven't, but I have experienced almost every single one of them. And I feel like one of the cool ones that we now have is the Yarrow Collective. Also, you were asking about different religions. They offer a lot of different spiritual things that they do. They do workshops outside of the Comcourt as well that we go to, and we do like pot plants or like, and then there's also like there's a spiritual plant thing that's actually going to happen on the 8th. So that's pretty cool. And Room for Hope is awesome. The ladies there, they're so supportive. They were here the last time I was here, and then also this time, and they are a big staple for the ladies. I know that. Let's see, and AA, I love Tina. Tina is awesome, and I know a lot of the treatment girls. They are excited for Saturday because they get to go and they get to talk to Tina, and she's an awesome. She does the Alcoholics Anonymous group, and she's amazing. Celebrate Recovery. I love Celebrate Recovery. I also attend that. I attend that in-house and also out in the community as well. And it is an amazing program. It is faith-based, but like you said, it covers all kinds of different things, not just addiction and to drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. So I really do think that me diving into all of these things is what is making me so successful this time around, and I'm super grateful for it.
Thank you, Forrest and Jessica. Thank you for sharing your stories. It was great to get an introduction to all the programs and then really hear how the kind of impact that they have. That was wonderful. Are there questions? Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thanks, Madam Chair. First, I just want to address everyone in the room. These, and Emily, you always bring some stories that are impactful. So this is not just numbers on a list or program budgets and things. This is actual impacts and stories. So I want to just thank you for that, and Alexis and everyone for your time this afternoon. It's always thought-provoking and heartwarming at the same time. So. I just really appreciate getting to listen and learn about that. I love especially hearing seeing that word resilience. So I'm really excited about that. And I want to thank Forrest and Jessica for being here. It takes a lot of courage to come tell your story, and I want to thank you for that. And I think what I hear from you both is kind of an openness and desire to take these classes or to listen or to learn. And so I was wondering, and you said this time around, what was what changed? Is it just offerings, or was it the connection? You mentioned connection and the people wanting to talk to you or wanting to help you, those relationships. I'm just curious if there's one thing that really kind of opened the heart and mind to seek this kind of work.
I know the last time I was in the halfway house, I really isolated myself, and I thought I was doing good, and I had a good job. I got into the non-residential program, and a lot of things happened at once. I was laid off, and a lot of other things happened, and I didn't have that community and that connection. So when I reached out, like I hadn't made that connection with anybody. And so I failed. And so I decided this time around to do things differently and to take advantage of the programs that they have. And I know that's something that I will never regret because it has been amazing. I don't have family here personally, and the people in these programs and the relationships that I've made with these people, it's amazing for me. It's my support. It's my family, and I feel comfortable with them, and I feel like they do have my best interests at heart, and they do care because they are taking time out of their day to come and teach me these things and to help me, and it's amazing. I love it.
I'll come alongside what Jessica just said too. This is my first time in community corrections, but one of the things I had to spend a lot of time with during my incarceration was looking at my relationships. And I decided well before I ever started my transition to community that one of the things I wanted to invest in was better relationships, healthy connection, healthy relationships. And I didn't exactly know what I was going to find when I got to Larimer, but the cool part is that there was just an abundance of healthy connections, healthy spaces, healthy places, healthy people for me to engage in and interact with. And that includes people like Jessica. This is our second panel together. We interact in a lot of different spaces. We go to the gym and work out. We see each other in passing. We see each other in church sometimes. So this is really cool that I have that opportunity. And one of the things I knew I needed to do during my incarceration has come to life in this program. And that's because of what's offered.
Again, thank you for sharing, and I just want to say, you all matter and your journey matters, and I just really appreciate you again for being here today. And I think was this the group that we had with advisory? Because I think this is the second time I've gotten to see you, so, okay.
Yes,
I'm
it
starting to make that connection, thank you.
Commissioner Falls.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick closing comments in light of the time. First of all, for Todd and the Parenting Cafe folks, are you aware of something called Vroom, the Vroom app? VROOM.org. It is, this is basically a global program of the Bezos family. We learned about this on Monday from our human services folks. So it's an app, it's free, and it's for parents, and it has the potential to create a bright future for kids. It provides free science-based tips and tools to help parents and caregivers give children a great start in life today. You may want to vroom.org. Would you write that down? You got it? Oh. And then that, I just wanted to share that. I think it's relevant. And my other comments are that much gratitude to everyone. It's interesting. Well, it's the folks who have been through some of this stuff, like Forrest and Jessica and Todd. I'm just mightily impressed by how genuine and authentic you are. And when we did the Restorative Justice Circle, that was a really mega powerful time together, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate to get to know you folks a little bit better. And for Fran, you'll be happy to know that my 8-year-old granddaughter, apparently her parents allowed her to get a debit card. What? But it's not a credit card, so, and you know what I mean, Fran, gosh. And then finally, these are tough times for a lot of folks, probably all of us. And so having this conversation, Emily and team, thank you. It gives us, at least gives me, I think it gives all of us a tiny glimmer of path forward, some hope, some light. So thank you. Thanks. I'm sorry, I went too long.
No, that's okay. Yeah, just thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories. We really appreciate it. I think about all the work that you're doing, and the business of being a human is hard, right? It's just hard, all this stuff. You got to save your money, and you got to take care of your kids, and maybe they don't like you at certain times, right? All this stuff is stuff that I think every human being struggles with with relationships, or how to get your feelings out, how to be an artistic and do all this work, and so I think it's especially hard for folks, who have been incarcerated, right? And so I think this is, as I'm thinking through this, I'm like, yeah, I would have loved to have parenting classes to learn how to deal with teenagers, right? We need each other to be able to kind of get through life, right? And then what you were talking about was connection. And so this is really just beautiful examples today of how we do that and how we take care of one another. And that helps us take care of our kids and helps you be, get on with your lives and be a good parent, and that's going to help our society. And so, the interconnectedness of the work that you all do is so valuable and so important. So just hang in there, it's there again, things are tough, but I mean, you are both really on your way, and thankful to the people who are here that help make that possible. And for all of you, just thank you for the good work that you do to help people get better and do better in the world. So, anything to Lorenda to close us out?
I guess I'll just say, one size doesn't fit all, and you all seem to understand that. You listen to your clients, you see what works, you see what they need, you try to offer those kind of things, those supports, because everyone is an individual, and we do need what we need, and we also need that connection. So I've had a chance to hear Forrest's story a couple of times, and I really appreciate your vulnerability. You are both just incredible to be here today and to share what you shared. I hope somebody hears that who needs to hear it, and can pick up where you leave off and go on forward. So thank you to the staff, thank you for the partners, and thank you for the clients. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, thank you for a very inspiring afternoon. We've had a lot of, there's been a lot of hard things to deal with lately with regard to human services and some of the things that are happening in our country, and so it is really nice to have some good news. So, thank you all. And with that, it's 3:01 and we're adjourned. Thank you all.